as you can see, I'm not in my basement. I'm going to do something over at the store because this lesson is going to be about purchasing. And not just drum purchasing, because that's really not what I'm here to talk about today, but something else that's just as incredibly complicated, but can be made easy, and that's purchasing cymbals. Cymbals are, in essence, an extension not only of the drum kit, but of your personality as well. There's a guy down at Bill's Music House named Lou Campagnoli, and he's an old school guy just like me. In fact, he's just about my age, maybe a little older. But he was my salesman down there for about 35 years, buying drums, equipment, but most importantly, I always used to go down there and buy cymbals. And the reason why I used to go down there specifically was because he used to let me pick them out just the way that I wanted. And I got to tell you, it was very funny. I can't tell you how many times that I used to go in looking for cymbals, and I'd take like 10 or 15 cymbals with me in hand under my arm and say, Lou, I need to test some cymbals out. And he'd send me in the back and let me go bash my brains out trying to find the ones that I'd usually like. And there have been times where I have done nothing but spend hours upon hours testing cymbals, because every cymbal has its own specific characteristics. You know, in drumming, I used to say to myself and to others, when it comes to purchasing drums, if it was round and the bearing edge was good and it was flat, and by that I mean what you do to find out whether a drum shell is going to work for you or get in tune is you unbolt the head with the lugs and place it on a flat surface. And that flat surface, basically, when you set it down, if the drum doesn't rock at all and you see no light coming between the flat surface, you know, you look across, and if you see no light coming between the flat surface and the shell, you knew that it was flat. And if it was round and it was flat and had a good bearing edge, I usually could get a good sound out of that particular drum. Every drum is a little bit different, but even the cheapest drums can be made to sound really pretty good if those three characteristics are there. That pretty much, though, says a lot about the drums, but the one thing about cymbals that are so different is that once they're made, that's what you get. You can't, I mean, you can cut down the rig by putting things underneath of it, tape and all that other good stuff, and believe me, I used to use some crazy things to try to get it to sound the way that I wanted. But for the most part, what you see is what you get. It's not like you can go in and say, oh, I can cut a little of this off and make it a little bit smaller and get a brighter sound. It doesn't work like that. And the reason why I'm doing this here at the store, I'm hoping that the store will let me shoot the rest of this video later on with their cymbal collection, because they have a bunch here. And by the way, this is B&B in Lewis, where I actually teach. And this, what you're seeing, is the actual drum studio that I teach in 3 days a week. And today, Saturday, is one of my teaching days. Let's talk about cymbals. Cymbals themselves have different functions. First off, for all of you beginners, a ride cymbal. Everybody says, what's a ride cymbal? What's a crash cymbal? What's a splash cymbal? Or something like that. A ride cymbal pretty much is a rhythmically based cymbal. This is a cymbal that's usually on one side or the other that you will hear a constant rhythm being played on when you're just actually playing a normal pattern. Now, I don't have a ride cymbal. I usually have one here, but I'm going to show you what a ride cymbal technically does. that you play to accentuate a rhythm. Now, usually ride cymbals are larger. Normal, typical ride cymbals 20, 22 inch, 24 inch. If you really got a beat to 26 inch. It's usually a cymbal that is of two kind of main category varieties that I call them. The washy ones, which go shh when you're playing it, and you don't hear a lot of stick noise, but you hear some stick noise. And then the real pingy ones, the ones that I kind of like when I'm going for, which give you definition for each one. Now I'm playing this crash cymbal actually as a ride, but you can hear the difference. It's more along the lines of you'll hear stick attack on a pingy cymbal rather than the wash. And let's talk about the cymbal themselves. You've got the edge, you've got the bow, and you've got the bell. Those are the three main characteristics of pretty much every cymbal. And what you're trying to achieve musically, it has to be able to take all three of those things into consideration. Why? Like I said, you can't change it. If you could take a washy cymbal and muffle it down and make it pingy, but a pingy cymbal's not going to be able to make it real washy because of the way the cymbals manufacture. They go from really thin to really thick, heavy weights to light weights, and everything in between. But how can you tell what a good cymbal is as opposed to a, let's just say, a not so good cymbal? All right, first off, there are major manufacturers for everything, just like Ford, Chevy, Dodge, those kind of things for cars. There are major cymbal manufacturers. One, Zildjian, which originated in Turkey, has been around for hundreds of years. Two, there's a company out of Canada called Cymbaling, manufactures wonderful cymbals as well. Three, another manufacturer, Meinl, out of Germany and Austria. Man, these three are heavy hitter competitors. Well, if you buy one of their cymbals, is it going to be good? Well, I got to tell you, every cymbal manufacturer, just like every car manufacturer, has different price points. They have beginner cymbals, intermediate cymbals, professional cymbals, and what I call uber professional cymbals, because I got to tell you, some of these cymbals in the uber range are amazingly expensive. I'm not in that uber range. Those are for the really big boys that are out there. I'm kind of like in that mid-range to the professional range. My ride cymbals usually have cost me, well, let's put it this way, I hadn't bought a ride in I don't know how long, and it cost me $110 back in the 80s. So let's translate what that is now into 2015. Ride cymbals today typically are in the $300 to $500 range on the professional level. Some a little bit more, some a little bit less. The mid-range are a couple $100s, and the beginner cymbals are usually sold in cymbal packs to kind of give you the spread of what a cymbal can do. You might have in a cymbal pack a set of hi-hats, some crash cymbals, and a ride cymbal. All those things are available in cymbal packs. What I want to go through is really the essence of what you should be thinking about as a pro player, intermediate player, whatever, when you purchase a cymbal. And this was something that was taught to me that I think is a very, very valuable lesson. When the cymbals are manufactured, they're either one big piece of metal that they lathe, or they're cast and lathe. And the one good thing today that I've found is that most cymbals I'm finding in today's world are very repeatable. Back in the day, back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, you had to go sit down there and test out cymbal after cymbal after cymbal to get the right sound that you are going for. Now, when I'm looking for any particular type of cymbal, ride, crash, or hi-hat, if you hear a particular pitch, a particular harmonic sticking out, if you constantly hear when you're playing a ride cymbal, you're hearing sticking out of one of the harmonics, I think that cymbal is going to let you down. You want to hear nice, balanced harmonics throughout. And when you have those nice, balanced harmonics, you will hear a cymbal that just goes, or, with some white noise, or you'll hear it go, and you won't be able to pick out a pitch. That's important. If you find a cymbal that's going to have a pitch to it, I think you're going to be disappointed, because if the music is in a completely different key than what that pitch is, I think you're going to end up hearing a conflict. So look for cymbals that have no unnecessary harmonic one way or the other sticking out whenever you're playing it, whether you're riding it, or whether you're crashing it. As you can hear, when the cymbal dies out, it should die out evenly with nothing sticking out. That's what I mean about the harmonics. Also, what do you look for in other types of cymbals? Crash cymbals. You have the explosion, which usually is either fast or slow. And I usually like, just for me in particular, I like a cymbal that gets out of its own way. I like hard splash for when I'm looking at a crash cymbal, something that goes wham, because it's going to accent the actual music that I'm playing. And gets out of the way because, let's face it, the more noise that you hear, either from a cymbal or drum ringing over, the more cluttered it's going to get when you're actually playing. And for live, things that hit hard and really crash and then die out, you're going to find out that gives you more of an accent. So, hope to see you downstairs. Well, here I am in cymbal heaven, as you can see. Not like down in my basement. I'm here at B&B in Lewis, where I just got done teaching, and they graciously let me come in to do the final part of my video about purchasing cymbals. What you're looking at here is not only cymbals, what you're looking at is colors, musical colors. Take a gander. Just like the box of crayons that you used to get with a kid when you were a kid, this is what you've got here. You really have to see these and hear them in order to really get a handle on what all of these things are. You can't just go to your internet store and say, ooh, I want me a 18-inch Sabian, yada, yada, yada. Even though that the cymbal manufacturers have a consistency in every cymbal is a statement, and it should be your statement. Remember, we're talking specifics now about cymbals. Some of the things that you need to know about picking cymbals. Remember, we talked about the overtones and the fullness of what each cymbal is going to give you. Let's talk about crashes. Crashes can vary from glistening ones, hard-hitting crashes. Listen to that crash right there. Dark, yet lots of overtones. Listen to the chinas. This one right here is a beauty. And I have to tell you, this is actually a Sabian B8 Pro, and as far as chinas go, this thing really does go. It explodes, yet it dies out evenly. Notice how the entire frequency dies out evenly. That's what you're looking for in a crash, without any kind of weird like coming out over top. You want to make sure that every one of the frequencies dies out evenly. Splashes. We even have one here. These are really very cool splashes. These are called the ozone splashes. This is an AAX ozone from Sabian. These are trashy, yet really punchy. Lots of glass right in the beginning, glassy sounding. But as you can see, a splash dies out, it explodes, and kind of dies out quickly. Take the same one, I'm lucky enough to have these here. Take the same one, that's a 12. We now have a 16. Listen to that. If this doesn't pop your ears, nothing will. And listen to how it does all kinds of white noise, but at the same time dies out completely evenly. Boy, I'd be picking up this one as well. There are so many different types of cymbals to have to deal with. You're dealing with rides, you're dealing with crashes, you're dealing with splashes, you're dealing with special effects cymbals, you're dealing with things that are geared for, let's face it, the type of music that you want to express. And all this is about expression of you. So, if you really, really, really want to go in and purchase the correct cymbal for you, my friends, don't sit down there and look at somebody's ad saying, hey, here's a 20-inch ride for, or hey, here's a 18-inch crash for. You really have to go in and hear them. Granted, today's cymbals are very, very repetitive, but you really have to let your ears do the choice. You know, all these things that are here, as you can see, there are going to be hundreds here. And I invite you to come in and talk to like Tim or Wayne about any of these cymbals, because we have expensive cymbals, inexpensive cymbals, pro cymbals, beginner cymbals here. I think that's really, the gamut is what you need to hear. And what really you really need to hear one play against the other for the specific environment that you're looking for. See you next time, and let's go cymbaling.